Hi everyone. I'm just doing a short video here to clarify the last video a little bit more, where I offered the free sessions for the newly awakened. So the first thing that I want to address is why the sessions are free to those who began their awakening process 2 years or less ago. And it's not that we're discriminating against people who awakened longer than 2 years ago who might still need the help. Certainly I will do whatever I can to help everybody who desires assistance. But these free sessions are for those who are newly awakened, because we want them to be able to understand things the way those people who have more experience in the awakening process do. So we want everybody to get up to a minimum level of understanding and having the ability to deal with all of the frequency shifts, the higher frequencies that are coming in. So it's kind of like, imagine grade school, and so right now there are grades 1 through 6, and those who awakened 3 years ago would be in 4th grade, and those who awakened 2 years ago would be in 3rd grade, etc. And if you awakened a year ago, you would be in 2nd grade, so on. So next semester, they're going to jump the classes up to 6th grade. So, I mean, it's like the learning level is going to be at like a 6th grade level. So that means if you're in 4th grade, you began your awakening process longer than 2 years ago. That means that you have that much more experience and more understanding about what's happening to you and to our world and our reality. So when you shift into 6th grade, you're going to be much more capable of dealing with what is happening at a 6th grade level than those who are in 3rd or 2nd grade. So we want the people who are in 2nd and 3rd grade to have the same awareness and same understanding and the same ability to deal with these shifts that those of you who are in 4th grade now have. So if you remember, if you woke up more than 2 years ago, especially several years ago, you've done a lot of research already, and you've had your experiences that have brought you to a certain level of understanding, so which makes you more capable of dealing with those energy shifts when we get a quickening, when all those high frequency energies all get bombarded on us all at one time, and we feel like we're all going crazy. And so even though it might still throw you for a loop, you have a better understanding of what's going on than those people who began their awakening process less than 2 years ago. And so we want everybody to be at the same level of understanding, or at least at a certain particular level of understanding, so that when things really begin to kick in again later on this year, those people who began their awakening less than 2 years ago won't get lost in the mix. We don't want to lose anybody, because you're really important to us. You're really important to the new reality that's coming in, and what we're trying to create here on Earth. So that's the reason why we're focusing on the newly awakened of 2 years or less ago. So certainly if you have been awake for more than 2 years, meaning that you know that you're more than just your physical body, that the voices and visions and thoughts and dreams are trying to tell you something, then that means that you already have a good grasp on it, okay? At least a good enough grasp not to get lost in the mix of things. But the reason why I bring that up again is because if enough people ask me, I will put something together to address people who are at a higher level of understanding, who have been awake for a much longer period of time. So the other way you can think of it is if you're at a 4th or 6th grade level of understanding, then you don't want to take a class that is meant for people, for 2nd graders. Okay, and I'm not trying to say that one is smarter than the other. It's just a level of experience and understanding. Okay, so with that said, what I wanted to address is when the awakening process begins. And I'm addressing this because Jen K, hi Jen, asked the question, how do you know when your awakening process began? And it's actually a really good question. So the awakening process, okay, if you think about it, it's like just the word awakening. It's like waking up. So think about it, you know, your alarm clock is going off. You have an exam in school. It's important that you get up. But you're really tired, and so you keep hitting that snooze button. Well, that is not actually the awakening. If you're hitting that snooze button, you're not waking up. So the awakening actually begins when you get out of bed, when you actually wake up. And so for me, for example, my awakening process began in full in 1987. That is when I stopped hitting the snooze button and got out of bed. And I had an extremely dramatic awakening. But prior to that, prior to 1987, I kept hitting the snooze button. So, and that happened for a couple of years. So there were smaller things that kept happening to me, trying to get me to wake up, trying to get me to get out of bed and realize that there was more to life than this third dimensional reality, that there was more to me than what I was seeing in the mirror, and you know, more to who I was. I was in college at the time and working a full-time job, and I had left an abusive husband at that time. But all those things were happening, so my life was coming apart at the edges. It was fraying, but I was still looking at it at a very third-dimensional point of view, and I kept hitting the snooze button, meaning that I didn't pay attention to those things, and I went on about life in a very typical third-dimensional manner. And it wasn't until 1987, several years after hitting the snooze button, that my whole life just erupted and I had to wake up. So if your life started to fall apart, has been falling apart for a couple of years, and then there was this one moment where it just exploded, then that is your moment of awakening. Because that's when you decided, I can't do this anymore. There's something else going on here. I got to figure this out. Things have to change. And that's, so what happens, excuse me, that was the lights coming from my computer screen. So what happens, if it's really important for you to wake up and you keep hitting that snooze button, the powers that be are going to shake you up. They're going to shake you awake and say, it's time to get up, you're going to be late. So that's when your awakening process actually begins in earnest, when you start trying to understand things that are happening to you, when you know that there's something more going on. So if that started to happen to you within the last 2 years, then I encourage you to join these sessions that I will be conducting, classes, more or less. Anyway, I hope that clarifies the awakening process a little bit. And certainly, they were very specific when they said that this would be for people who began their awakening process within the last 2 years. I am not going to quiz you or grill you. So if you began the awakening process 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, I'm not going to say, yeah, no, you can't be a part of this. That's totally up to you. But you're probably already going to know, if you began your awakening process more than 2 years ago, you're probably already going to know what we're going to cover. Because what this is a way to help people understand what is happening inside of them, and to know that they're not losing their sanity, that they're not going crazy, that the voices that they hear, the thoughts that they get, the feelings that they're picking up on, the visions, the dreams, the symbols, the 1111, and why do I feel this pull to go here, and should I turn left or should I turn right, and why do I feel like, everything is just like, there are some days where the energies just keep coming in at you, and you feel like you can't do another thing. Those moments are usually time to look at things and put everything into perspective, because it's like a download. It's like we're computers, and they start downloading all this information into us, and we come to a point where there's so much information that has come in that we have to look at it and sort through it and file it all away, so that we can open up the space inside of us for more downloads to come in, more frequency changes and energy shifts and information, etc. So that's what we'll be doing in these sessions, is we'll be looking at what's going on, and we'll be supporting each other. Above everything else, we're going to be there to support each other in this process, to know that you're not alone and that you're not going crazy, and yeah, well, how did you deal with that, and etc. I will also be giving a lot of my own examples, my own personal experiences, and what I did to get through the awakening process as all the information was coming in, as my frequencies inside of myself, not just externally, but what I was experiencing inside of myself, started to shift and get higher. So the thing is that, okay, so these are like prep classes. And it doesn't mean that you're going to go into the mystery school, but it will give you an understanding of what's happening and how you can apply it to your third dimensional life. So it's not woo-woo stuff. A couple of years ago when I started my awakening process, 30 years ago, a lot more people saw it as woo-woo stuff than they do today. So I was very blessed to have a very supportive family, and a mother who truly got what was happening to me and inside of me, and was very supportive in so many different ways. So if it hadn't been for that, I don't know what would have happened to me, because it was just so extreme. So I want to be there for all of you in the same manner that my family was there for me, and to help you understand that you're not going crazy, that you're going to be fine, and we'll figure it all out. And everybody's experience is going to be slightly different. And, the thing is that if you want to get through this, we have to do it together. We're not separate. We're not separate individual little pieces here and there that are all alone. We have to unite. We have to be connected. We have to be a collective. We have to create our little congregations so that we can support each other and share our information and our understanding. so that we can help each other figure out what's going on and create this new reality. So anyhow, this video is much longer. It's 5 minutes longer already than I intended it to be. So, okay, so to sum all of that up, the reason for this particular video is to say I'm not discriminating against anybody. So whenever you started to wake up, if you want to be a part of this, that's fine. But if you began your awakening process longer than 2 years ago, you probably already understand most of what we're going to be going through anyhow. If you remember when you first started your awakening process and how confused you were and freaked out and wondered whether or not you were losing your sanity, that's who we're here to help now. That's what this video is addressing. It's addressing that group of people that haven't been able to figure it out because you just began your awakening process. And then, so if there are people who have awakened longer than 2 years ago and you have some understanding of what's going on, but you would like to get together with others and to figure it out even more, certainly message me, make a comment below, and we'll figure something out. We'll put something together. And then to also address that the awakening process is different for everybody, and the easiest, best way to pinpoint when you began your awakening process is when your life completely blew up so that you had to get up out of bed and you had to start looking. You couldn't sleep anymore. You couldn't pretend that there wasn't anything going on. And the voices and the thoughts and the visions and the dreams, those are all part of the awakening process. So if your life was falling apart little by little by little by little, and then all of a sudden something just erupted, then that means that you were hitting the snooze button all those years or months or whatever, and then when it came into a full eruption, that's when they shook you up to wake you up, to get you to get out of bed. All right, so any more questions, please comment below and I will answer them. And if need be, I will do another video. So far, it's set for Monday, January 2nd, probably around 7 o'clock, 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening, Arizona time. But I will do another video later on in the week to clarify all of that. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be through Skype. All right, love you all very much. Many blessings. Have a wonderful day.